I'm Janet Grauberg, and I'm one of the hosts for today for this session on relational practice. We have in the team today Gabriel Eistella from FEMPRA. We're going to hear from Darren Bishton from the National Leaving Care Benchmarking Forum, and from Dr. Claire Baker, who I know many of you will know from the forum, from the Esby Fairburn Leaving Care Learning Programme. And this is session 7 in webinar 7 in a series of webinars. Sadly, it's the last one. This series of webinars has come from resources that we generated during a peer learning program that we ran jointly between the Esby Fairburn Leaving Care Learning Programme and the National Benchmarking Forum about relational working with young people with care experience. And that was all about how we could support those working with care leavers to work more relationally with the young people and with their colleagues. And we generated a load of resources from that programme and a load of learning. We thought we wanted to share it more widely. So we have created a wonderful website resource on the Benchmarking Forum website, which you can access, which has got all the resources on it. But we felt that just creating a website was the least relational thing that we could possibly do. So we thought we'd have these conversations with you to introduce you to the resources and to encourage you to discuss them. So today we're going to focus on 2. We're going to start with log 9 about the toolkit treasure trove. But we're going to come to that in a minute, but we're going to start with blog 10, which sets relational working into the current policy context. And so Darren is going to start with that. I'm going to hand over to Darren to talk us through the slides.
Thanks, Janet. That's great. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Darren Bishton. I'm the practice lead for the Benchmarking Forum, and I've been working with Janet and Gabriel on this wonderful piece of work. Next slide. We'll go to the next slide, if that's okay. Yeah, it started off really from a discussion around the care review. Care review started in 2021, and it was kind of root and branch reform of the care system. And Josh McAllister led this, and he really wanted to put love in the care system. And a lot of us have worked in the care system, and it's quite hard to actually sometimes identify how we kind of do that really. So we're really keen to actually explore this in a lot more detail. But Josh McAllister actually identified that young people were the centre of all the work that we do, and that there's a real disadvantage for young people. And he talked about care leavers being, or young people with care experience being a civil rights issue of our time. So this was a real drive for us to make sure that we were actually helping local authorities and other organisations to really think through how we do this, and as soon as possible to make sure that we provide that care and love as a good parent should. Really. So the care review came into place. It was published in 2023, as you see there. And a few months later, Stable Homes Built on Love was published by the government. And it's obviously a response to the care review. It didn't cover all of the key issues, but it was really important in actually trying to address some of those sort of key issues around changing the system to make it more loving, really, and allowing workers who work in that system to really develop those really important relational practice theories and concepts for young people to make a real difference for them. So we were thrilled to do this program. So the creation of the national framework came in 2023, and we're going to talk about that in a little while in the next frame. But you can see here it was the kind of central to the setting direction of practice. Let's go to the next. Okay, so who's the framework for? Well, at that point, it was very much around local authorities providing care and support for young people who were looked after in care experience. But he also had a responsibility to wider authorities, and you can see health, education, police and probation, residential and voluntary sectors were all drawn into this concept to make sure that we're actually working collectively together, really, because absolutely that's what good parents do. So the framework came into place, and you can see here, I've got a slide that talks about the outcomes, outcome 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see here that we're all interested in all of those outcomes. But outcome 4 was around children in care and care leavers having stable, loving homes. And this was critically important. And you can see at the bottom, there were 3 enablers: multi-agency working, prioritising and being effective, leaders drive conditions for effective practice. And this was key because we wanted the culture of organisations to be around how we develop love and those relational practices within organisations. But we also, and you can see in enabler 3, want a workforce that is equipped and effective, and that there is a real responsibility to make sure that those workers that are working with young people are, for example, trauma-informed, aware, and a whole range of other skills to make sure that they can do this. And down the side, you can see here is the dashboard, and we'll come to that in a minute, but the dashboard was that process by which learning and progress could be measured. And in an ideal world, local authorities would actually kind of work and relate to that, identify the data, use that data, learn from that data, and then push it back into the system to make sure that we're reviewing it. And it wasn't just for that local authority, we could see other local authorities and how they're doing it as well. And this was key to maybe making sure that we can provide that better service. So again, the dashboard brings together the data, understands progress, and it will serve as a learning tool. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ofsted in a minute, but Ofsted, as we know, we're really keen to know that absolutely local authorities and other organisations they work with know themselves, and they actually can reflect and think about what they do well and what they need to improve on. And Ofsted's one of those main purposes to do that. And so we were hoping that the dashboard would be an aid for local authorities and other organisations to see how they're doing and what they need to do to improve. So critically important. So you can see here, outcome 4, just a bit more emphasis on this: children in care and care leavers, leaders champion strong, loving relationships. And this is really important to put, actually, we can hear that the word love being involved in policy documents, great work forward. But leaders champion corporate parenting within local authorities and partner agencies. And we could talk about corporate parenting, that concept, for a long time, but it really is parenting. It is that being about, is this good enough for your own child? The old Frank Dobson stuff that we know that's really important. But leaders also develop strong relationships with other key providers, for example, health services, police, probation, prisons, and all of those things. It's a massive drive forward and a big responsibility, and kind of a cultural shift to actually identify that these are all our young people, not just local authorities, but we all have a responsibility to care for them. Let's go to the next slide, please. So things move on. The new Labour government came into power. And as you know, this is absolutely happening at the moment. The Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill is going through Parliament as it stands. Initially, they took out, or the actual parenting responsibility for other agencies. Last week, it came back in again, which was fascinating, a really, really important development. And yesterday, it was at committee stage, and they were really exploring, actually, the health minister was exploring and being questioned about how we're going to impact this bill on young people and what the impact is on lots of levels. But what we do know about care experience young people is the issue around staying close, which is one of those key issues about that, and the development of the local offer. And that's having a kind of a national approach as well. So this offer for care experience young people right across the country, and there's no differentiate very much on certain issues. That could be like, free bus travel, prescriptions, and all of those things. They're the sort of things that we're driving towards. Let's move on. Okay, but what is the other driver and lever that local authorities look for? And Ofsted are key to this. So Ofsted go and visit local authorities. As you know, they're graded, they're rated, they're provided with support. They actually identify some of the key areas they're good at, what they're good at, or what they're not good at. But Ofsted have really grasped this idea of caring and loving relationships. Let's go to the next slide. So Ofsted in their guidance in December identified what good looks like for local authorities. And you can see here that care leavers have a positive and trusting, stable relationship with personal advisors. Care leavers are supported to maintain relationships that are important to them. And again, lifelong links, that kind of thing is developing within local authorities. It's brilliant to see. Care leavers have access to a range of social and recreational opportunities. We can see in the local offer and maybe national offers around gym membership and a whole range of other things. Clubs, all of those things are critically important to actually for all of us, and young people should be included in that. Professionals create a culture where young people want to keep in touch. That is important. Lots of local authorities I've seen are actually developing post-25 policies so young people can contact them to make sure that these parent-child relationship continues, as it does for us in our own families as well. Care young people are help to understand their rights and entitlements. Seen lots of developments, apps and stuff, which is brilliant. And local authorities consult widely to make sure that their voice of young people is central to the actual development of the offer that the local authority is actually presenting. And this is key. Ofsted are looking to see the voice of young people, not only in their personal plans, their pathway plans, but also in the local offer they're actually providing. And that should be reviewed on a regular basis. If we go again to the next slide, please. So that is a very, very tight whistle-stop tour of actually the legislation that's going on. Please, please, please keep an eye on what's going on in Parliament. It's gone through committee stage at the moment. It's then going to move to the House of Lords. There'll be some ping-ponging between House of Lords and Parliament, but it really is important that we actually try and drive some of those things. And there are key agencies who are trying to make sure that there's some influence around that sort of development of the local offer and a national offer as well. So that was 10 minutes, pretty much tightly packed into very broad spectrum.
Very well done, Darren. And I've popped the link to the progress of the bill in the chat, and we'll also make sure we send it out. So the question that we're going to have a discussion now on, we're going to have 8 or 10 minutes for you discussing breakout groups, maybe 10 or 12, so we've seen that overview, the outcomes, the bill, and Ofsted's really helpful set of judgments and criteria that they use. How can you use that national policy framework to build relational policy and practice in your local authority, your organization, your area?
Welcome back. We hope you had a great conversation there, and we're very curious if there's anything from your conversation that you would like to share with us. If there is, then please just put yes in the chat, and then I'll come to the first 2 or 3 people who put yes in the chat. And anything from your conversation that you think is interesting, relevant, maybe a great example of how you're using the national policy and framework at the moment to build relational policy and practice, or any ideas, any plans you might have. So just put yes in the chat, and then
Gabriel, I'd be interested to know whether Ofsted have been into local authorities, if anybody is from a local authority, and whether their comments around sort of relational practice, because that would be really interesting to see as well. So.
For sure. So don't be shy. If there's anything else from your conversation, then let us know. Kate, can we come to you there? Thanks.
Should have known that would happen. Yeah, I'm a lifelong, family group conference and lifelong links coordinator, Bath and North East Somerset Council. And I was just saying that they're the new sort of legislation, which I hold my hands up and I don't know in any great detail at all. But yeah, I just know that having, a part of it about maintaining links, that being, really important, just would really help us with sort of, embedding lifelong links even deeper than it already is. And I think makes us maybe feel a little bit more secure as well, because we're always kind of having to prove ourselves, and we're not a statutory service, so we don't automatically just get the money to do this. So it being taken more seriously at a much higher level, just for me anyway, makes me think, oh, phew, people are listening, and this is something that is needed and will be yeah, continuing.
Yeah, well, hoping the dashboard is going to really help with some of those things. I've seen brilliant examples of lifelong links, Kate, and it does make a difference for young people as well. And that's where I was talking about this loop for young people, when they talk about what's important to them, and then they feed that back into the system, or when they speak to Austin inspectors, speak to senior leaders and managers. These are the sort of really important elements that we all know that young people finish their care experience. Well, they're looked after experience at 18, and that's still very young, isn't it? So that sort of support around them, that key relationships, makes the massive difference in this amazingly important transitional period in their life. So well done for the work you do. It's great, and I'd love to see lifelong links right across the whole country in all local authorities. So well done. It's a brilliant thing you're doing.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Fantastic. Thanks. Claire, you put something there in the chat as well about piloting family finding. Do you want to elaborate on that?
I'll just link into what Kate was saying. So I think we've got the bill going through Parliament, but then we've got a few things being sort of like, we've got pathfinders going on and other pilots. So there is the kind of Department for Education have put some money towards piloting family finding, of which lifelong links is a massive part under that umbrella, and then befriending and mentoring. So there's about 50 local authorities, maybe 27 doing one. So I think government quite like a pilot, and it's good to watch what happens. That doesn't mean other local authorities aren't getting on and doing this anyway. But yeah, maybe there's some momentum there. So they've certainly been putting some funding behind it and looking at all those different evidence reports. So we'll see where that goes. It was 1 year to start with, so everybody's waiting to see where it goes. ...
Perfect. Thanks, Claire. And Tracy, you mentioned care leaver hubs there. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, we talked a little bit in our group about that, around the impact of young people with shared lived experiences coming together. We're about to open our third hub, but our second one's open for drop-in at any time during the day. And I think what we're finding is that young people are coming together and actually developing those networks and those friendships and relationships together. And what we're finding is slowly we're able to sort of move out and be on the periphery of that, and sort of young people are doing that naturally themselves. So I think we can't underestimate the impact of care leaver hubs in terms of relational practice. We use our hubs as a little bit of a model as well. So what we do is we'll put an event on. So we might put a sports day as an example. We get our young people to come along to that. But actually what we've got there is all our different partner agencies. We might have welfare rights, we might have our health team there, and they'll be, playing rounders and engaging with young people, but we're breaking those barriers. So actually, if they need to come and ask for support, they already know those workers, because I think that's what we know as a barrier. If we said to young people, we'll just ring the welfare rights hotline, the chances of them doing that would be slim. There would be a real barrier there. Where when we say, oh, do you want to just ring Anne, our welfare rights worker, they go, oh yeah, we know Anne, we've seen her, we've met her. So I think breaking those barriers down as well. We've got our peer mentoring workers come along to stuff at the hubs. We've got staying close, we've got our emotional wellbeing worker, we have people like NIAS that come along as well. So really breaking those barriers for young people so they know who to reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely. Making it personal, making it relational is really important.
And we talked about the impact of young people having social mobility, being able, bus passes is a big thing. I'm from Durham, and it's a really big authority, but for young people to get from one side to the other is a real challenge, where if they've got bus passes, that breaks that down. They can go out, they can socialise, they can come and meet us places, they can go and meet other young people, they can attend community groups and community events, etc.
That's brilliant. It's so wonderful to hear about all these positive examples of relational practice and of how you kind of putting these policies into practice, or at least are supported by this policy direction. So
we've got Ofsted in at the moment, so I'll tell you after in 2 weeks' time to whether we've got a positive impact of what we do at the moment. Wish us luck.
Indeed, for sure. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, I'd like to hand over to Claire Baker to tell us a little bit more about our treasure trove of relational practice resources, because as you will see, there are loads.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks. Oh, it's really lovely to see everyone this lunchtime. And in fact, we've held, this is number 7, so we've held 7 of these lunchtime drop-in meet and greets, webinars, space for people to get together, and as you know, all based on the Relational Practice program that was run, funded by the Esme Fairbairn. And so as a result of that, along the way, as you'd imagine, we've just found all sorts of treasures, all sorts of gems, really. And we wanted to share what we found and what people have told us about. We've been learning lots as we've gone along as well. So in respect of kind of the work we've been doing and pulling together, we've written 10 different blogs. They all live on the National Leaving Care benchmarking website, so they're all there, and there's all sorts in there. So somebody in the chat, I think it was Christina, was talking about having conversations with colleagues about love languages. So I think blog, it might be number 5, you can go check, but one of the blogs absolutely about love and speaks to kind of the different love languages. So hopefully they're really accessible, pretty short, but they've got loads of hyperlinks in. So there's 10 blogs that we've kind of pulled together, things about the 3 Ps, the relational universe, what do care experienced young people say about relationships. So I hope you get a chance to have a look, see something you're interested in, and share them with other people. As part of those resources, we've got some films, so colleagues from voluntary sector organisations, colleagues from local authorities who'd been with us on this relational practice journey, did quite short videos where they sort of reflect on how it's going for them, what they're doing, things they're trying to change, and yeah, honest appraisal about where they are. So however you like your learning, hopefully there's something there for you. There's videos, there's films, and then these webinars, as Gabriel said, they're all recorded. So there's 7 webinar recordings. And so one of the blogs, number 9, is our treasure trove blog. So if we just move to the next slide, thanks, Gabriel. And in that short blog, I've just pulled together some of the things we love and some of the things we've talked about in other sessions. So the relationships project is just really worth your time. It's really easy to navigate, and it's got all sorts of resources in there around relationship-centered practice, why it matters. I've pulled out there the case maker because I think it just is a go-to place for the evidence of why centering relationships is kind of irrefutable, the case for why you would do that. So if anyone's kind of struggling to make the case to funders, to colleagues, to seniors, the case makers are really useful place to start. And the other gorgeous thing about the relationships project is you can, you know, put yourself forward, get yourself on their relationships map, get on the mailing list. It's a really relational website, so you can sort of connect with people and join in lots of things for free. And then I guess also in our treasure trove, we were lucky to come across sort of toolkits and resources specifically designed with care experienced young people. So the blog takes you through a couple of examples, one of which was some work done up in Falkirk, up in Scotland, the Relationships First project. And that was a sort of system design project. And they were trying to think about how can we pour more love into the system? What would it look like? And so they came up with 3 design concepts, one of which was the share the care policy. And there's a really gorgeous video of Robert. It's an animation, Robert and his work experience mentor. And it's really, that little video is about how did the organization flex to allow that relationship to flourish more. So how can organizations be more relational as well? So yeah, the blog, it's not very long, but it's got lots of links, and hopefully it will pull together lots of those gems that we've been lucky to spend a bit of time getting to know. So we just wanted to point out and sort of alert you to some of that. Thanks. I think I'll hand back to
Thank you, Claire.
Janet. Thanks, Janet.
Yes. So do hang out on the blog and the website as much as you can. So we're coming to the end, and we'll finish in the normal way. what action are you going to take as a result of today's session? And how you're going to make sure you do it. Are you going to email yourself? Are you going to stick a pink post-it on your computer? Put a note in your calendar. So we're just going to have a minute for you to just to think on your own about what you are going to do as a result of today's session. You can put it in the chat if you wish, but it's really for you rather than for us. So I'll just pause and I'll let you have some time to think. Great, lots of things popping into the chat, and yeah, and Claire's reminded us that if you go on the Relationships Project website, you can sign up for a newsletter, and they basically function as a really good aggregator of all things sort of relationshipy. They even advertise this program of webinars and things that you can find out about. If there's something you want to ask any of us about, when you get the email afterwards, please drop any of us a line. More than happy to point you in the right direction, or share our knowledge or lack of knowledge with you. So this is as we said at the beginning, this is the last in this series. We'll send out the links. We'll send out the slides from today. We'll send out the links to all the resources here. We'll encourage you to go on to the Benchmarking Forum website where all of them are hosted. And we'll put in the link to the webinar recordings. They'll be linked on the Benchmarking Forum website, but they're also available on YouTube, as you can see at the bottom there, so that you can encourage your team to sit around a virtual television and read them. I'd just like to say thank you to Gabriel, Claire and Darren for being co-collaborators on this programme, and the wonderful Esme Fairburn Foundation for paying us all so that we could do that. And we are doing some more thinking about whether there's more we might do. So if you have ideas of things that we might do to make more of these resources or have these conversations, just let us know. Thank you all, and please share with us your successes and stories about relational practice, and wishing you a good afternoon, and see you again sometime somewhere soon.